In the quiet heart of Whisper Creek, deep within the Appalachian Mountains, Adam Reynolds believed he'd left the echoes of war behind, until a wild wolf's piercing gaze pulled him toward a forgotten cabin in the woods. Inside lay secrets powerful enough to heal old wounds and reunite fractured souls. Sometimes, salvation finds us in the wilderness, guided by the silent whispers of those we least expect. Are you ready to discover what truly awaits when courage answers the call of the wild? The late autumn air was tinged with the smell of damp leaves and distant wood smoke as evening settled over Whisper Creek. Nestled in a quiet valley within the vast Appalachian Mountains, the town was a collection of simple houses, winding roads, and gentle hills crowned with dense forests. As twilight fell, an eerie mist drifted lazily from the trees, blanketing the landscape in a silvery veil. Shadows stretched across quiet yards, dim porch lights flickered on one by one, and a calm, almost solemn stillness enveloped the town like an old quilt. At the edge of this tranquility, just outside Whisper Creek, Adam Reynolds lived alone in a small, weathered cabin. Adam was 35 years old, tall and sturdily built, yet his broad shoulders often hunched forward as if burdened by unseen weights. His dark brown hair was cut short, but always seemed slightly unkempt, matching the rugged stubble he rarely bothered to shave. Adam's pale blue eyes had the distant look of someone haunted by memories too painful to forget, the legacy of his 12 years as a Marine fighting in the harsh deserts of the Middle East. He had only returned to Whisper Creek 2 weeks ago, driven home by his father's sudden death, a tragedy that compounded the heaviness he already carried. The cabin was humble yet sturdy, built decades earlier by Adam's grandfather. Its wooden exterior had faded and cracked with age, and ivy crept stubbornly up one wall, determined to reclaim the house for the wilderness. Inside, Adam kept things sparse. A few pieces of functional furniture, a single faded rug, a fireplace lined with cracked stones, and minimal decoration. It reflected his current state of mind, empty, simple, and isolating. The townsfolk had offered kindness upon his return, bringing casseroles, offering condolences, but Adam had politely withdrawn each time, choosing isolation as his sanctuary. He felt disconnected, estranged even from his own past. He could sense their whispers and cautious gazes whenever he drove into town for basic supplies. Poor Adam, they'd say quietly. War changes people. They meant well, but it only made him retreat deeper into solitude. On this particular evening, as shadows darkened into true night, Adam sat silently on his porch, nursing a mug of bitter coffee. His eyes stared blankly into the encroaching darkness of the forest. He knew this land intimately, yet tonight, something felt different, unsettled, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. He sighed a deep, weary sound and set his cup down, preparing to head back inside. The air had grown sharply colder, the wind whispering softly, rustling the dried leaves. Suddenly, a faint sound halted his movement, a low rustle, distinct from the wind. Adam's instincts sharpened, honed from years spent in dangerous places. Slowly, he turned, scanning the edge of the trees. At first, he saw nothing, only the silent line of black trunks standing sentinel. Then, 2 amber eyes gleamed sharply, reflecting the faint glow of the porch light. Adam froze, his heart quickening. He recognized immediately that it was no ordinary animal. The eyes held his gaze unflinchingly, intense and unblinking. Carefully, Adam reached back inside the doorway and pulled a flashlight from a hook beside the door, clicking it on and directing the beam towards the eyes. Instantly illuminated, the figure stepped fully into view. It was a wolf, powerfully built, its thick gray and white fur marked with darker streaks that blended seamlessly into the forest shadows. Its ears perked forward, alert, and its stance exuded both caution and confidence. Most striking were its eyes, piercing, intelligent, and surprisingly calm. Adam had never seen a wolf this close to town, and certainly not one unafraid of human presence. He felt an inexplicable sensation, as if the wolf was observing him, studying him. They watched each other silently, the seconds stretching into minutes, neither willing to break the strange connection. Finally, the wolf lowered its head slightly, a gesture Adam could swear was one of acknowledgement rather than aggression, before turning and melting effortlessly back into the darkness. Adam stood motionless for another moment, pulse still racing, before stepping cautiously into the night. He shone the flashlight over the spot where the wolf had stood, finding no trace it had ever been there. Not a paw print nor disturbed leaf. Uneasy yet strangely intrigued, Adam returned inside, locking the door behind him for the first time since he had returned home. That night's sleep eluded him. The image of the wolf's eyes lingered in his thoughts, and he tossed restlessly in his bed, haunted not by his usual nightmares of war, but by questions. Why had the wolf appeared? Why had it watched him so intently, as though trying to tell him something? He rose before dawn, brewing another strong pot of coffee, hoping daylight would dispel the tension he still felt. But the strange encounter remained vivid in his mind. By sunrise, he stepped outside again, carefully approaching the tree line. Still, there was nothing, no evidence of the mysterious visitor. Frustrated, Adam decided to walk into town. Whisper Creek was waking slowly. As he entered the small grocery store on Main Street, the shop's bell chimed cheerfully overhead. Mary Edwards greeted him from behind the counter, her elderly face breaking into a welcoming smile. She was a small woman with silvery curls and a kindly demeanor, always eager to help. "Good morning, Adam," she said warmly. "Beautiful day today, isn't it?" Adam offered her a small nod, trying not to appear overly distant. "Morning, Mary. I suppose it is. You look tired," she noted gently, concern flickering briefly across her face. "Everything all right?" Adam hesitated briefly. "Just adjusting, that's all." Mary nodded sympathetically. "Well, it's nice to see you around. Let us know if you need anything." She paused slightly, adding, "Or just to talk. We're all here for you." He managed a grateful smile, though he knew he likely wouldn't take her up on the offer. After purchasing a few necessities, Adam headed back home. The day passed quietly, filled with small tasks around the cabin, but his thoughts repeatedly returned to the wolf. As darkness fell again, Adam waited anxiously on his porch, wondering if the animal would return. This time, however, the woods remained quiet, ordinary. Disappointment surprised him, revealing how deeply he had anticipated another glimpse of the wolf. He stood, turning to head inside, but suddenly a faint rustling in the bushes captured his attention. His heart sped once more. Stepping cautiously toward the edge of the porch, he whispered into the dark, "Are you there?" The silence stretched out in reply, until those familiar amber eyes appeared again, closer now, directly beneath the window. Once again, the wolf held him captive in its gaze, fierce, wise, and knowing. Adam felt drawn to it, compelled by its silent message. Slowly, the wolf stepped closer, stopping just beyond the porch steps. The powerful creature sat down, calm and watchful, silently communicating trust and purpose. Adam found himself reaching out instinctively, his hand trembling slightly. But before he could move further, the wolf stood, turning gracefully back toward the woods. Pausing briefly, it cast one final look at Adam, as though urging him to follow. Then it vanished once more into the shadows, leaving Adam feeling simultaneously unsettled and inexplicably hopeful. He stared after the creature, his pulse settling into a calm rhythm. Whatever message the wolf carried, Adam knew deep inside that his life was about to change, and perhaps this strange visitor had come precisely because he needed it. In the gentle morning light, Whisper Creek stirred awake beneath a quilt of mist. Adam Reynolds sipped his coffee by the kitchen window, still unable to shake the strange encounter with the mysterious wolf from his mind. Even in daylight, the forest seemed different, alive with secrets he couldn't grasp. Determined to refocus, Adam pulled on his jacket and stepped outside, deciding that repairing the worn-down fence surrounding his cabin might provide some distraction. As he bent to inspect the rotted wood, He caught sight of someone moving swiftly along the distant trailhead at the edge of his property. Curious, Adam squinted into the pale fog and recognized Caroline Brooks, one of Whisper Creek's younger residents, briskly making her way into the dense forest beyond. Adam had only briefly met Caroline in passing. She was well known around town for her persistence and quiet strength. At 32, Caroline was slender and slightly taller than average, with gentle auburn curls falling to her shoulders, usually tied loosely at the nape of her neck. Her deep green eyes often carried a hidden sadness beneath their warmth, a reflection of burdens she rarely shared openly. Caroline was known as a dedicated elementary school teacher, beloved for her endless patience and unwavering kindness toward students, even those others labeled as difficult. But the shadow that clouded her vibrant nature appeared the day her younger brother, Tommy Brooks, vanished nearly a year ago after a heated argument with their parents. Caroline refused to believe Tommy was lost forever, tirelessly seeking any trace that might lead her back to him. Though people whispered gently that she should move on, Caroline's determined heart refused surrender. Drawn by curiosity and concern, Adam hesitated briefly, then followed her toward the forest edge. She moved swiftly, dressed in practical hiking clothes, carrying a small, worn backpack. Caroline paused when she heard footsteps behind her, turning with cautious surprise. Recognizing Adam, her wary expression softened slightly. "Adam Reynolds, isn't it?" she asked gently, her voice steady yet cautious. "Didn't expect to see anyone else out here this early." Adam nodded politely, stepping closer. "Yeah, I noticed you passing by my place. Didn't mean to intrude, but these woods aren't always safe alone." Caroline smiled faintly, a weary sadness flickering briefly in her eyes. "I appreciate the concern, but I've become pretty familiar with these trails. I'm Caroline Brooks, by the way. We haven't formally met." Adam shook her hand, noting the gentle firmness in her grip. "I've heard about you. Everyone in town respects your determination to find your brother." Caroline's gaze darkened slightly. "Tommy," she said softly. "He disappeared last autumn. Everyone says it's hopeless after so long, but I know he's out there somewhere. He's stubborn, always was, and too resourceful to just vanish without a trace." Adam recognized the pain hidden beneath her calm exterior, feeling a sudden empathy toward her struggle. "I admire that," he replied honestly. "Too many people give up easily. If you ever need another pair of eyes." Caroline looked at him thoughtfully, assessing the sincerity in his offer. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Maybe someday I'll take you up on that. But today, I just need to follow a new lead on my own." Adam respected her independence and nodded, watching as she moved gracefully into the thickening woods. As Caroline vanished among the trees, Adam's thoughts shifted back to the wolf from the night before. The forest clearly held mysteries beyond understanding. He wondered briefly if the strange creature had somehow sensed Caroline's purpose as well. Meanwhile, Caroline's heart quickened with a renewed sense of purpose as she moved deeper into the wilderness. Each weekend, she explored different routes, hoping to uncover overlooked clues. Today's trail, narrow and overgrown with tangled roots and vines, twisted deeper into a part of the forest less traveled. She had recently heard from a local hunter named Jesse Crawford, an elderly man whose eyesight was fading, about an old shack hidden deep in these woods. Jesse was a thin, wiry man in his 70s, with white hair beneath a worn hunting cap. Despite his frailty, his memory was sharp and his stories detailed. Though Jesse dismissed his own sightings as tricks of aging eyes, Caroline clung stubbornly to his descriptions. Hours passed quietly as Caroline moved steadily forward, pausing occasionally to study broken twigs or faint marks she hoped could be signs left by Tommy. Eventually, the path widened slightly, revealing an open glade bordered by massive oaks whose ancient branches stretched protectively overhead. In the clearing, a dilapidated structure stood half-hidden behind thick vines and wild growth, exactly as Jesse had described. Caroline approached slowly, her pulse racing. She carefully opened the creaky door and stepped inside, eyes adjusting to the dimness. Dust motes danced lazily in scattered beams of sunlight, filtering through cracks in the weathered walls. Empty shelves lined the room, but the floor held scattered items: a rusty lantern, some empty cans, and, most significantly, a worn notebook half covered in dried leaves. Caroline carefully picked it up, her fingers trembling slightly as she opened the cover. Her heart leapt with bittersweet recognition. It was Tommy's handwriting, messy yet unmistakably his. The entries inside were sparse, but enough to confirm her deepest hope. Tommy had indeed passed through here months ago, struggling to survive after leaving home. His words revealed regret, loneliness, and uncertainty, yet the final lines read clearly, "I have to keep going. I can't go back yet. I have to find something worth returning with." Tears blurred Caroline's vision. She held the notebook gently, knowing she had at last found tangible proof Tommy had survived at least long enough to write these words. With new determination, she tucked the notebook securely into her backpack. She stepped back outside into the bright clearing, breathing deeply, relieved yet anxious about her next step. Nightfall approached as Caroline emerged from the woods onto Adam's property once again. Adam was still outside, working steadily on his fence repairs, surprised when Caroline approached quietly from the forest. Her expression, though tired, seemed lighter, touched by hope rather than despair. "Did you find something?" Adam asked softly, sensing her mood had changed. Caroline nodded, showing him the notebook. "Proof Tommy survived out here. He's alive, Adam. I just know it." Adam felt genuine happiness for her discovery, sensing the weight lifted from her heart. "Good. He's lucky to have someone who refuses to give up on him." Caroline met Adam's eyes, gratitude shining clearly in her gaze. "Thank you, Adam. It's good to know someone believes." As Caroline departed toward town, Adam felt strangely inspired by her unwavering strength. Night returned swiftly, darkness again embracing Whisper Creek. Adam paused once more on his porch, eyes scanning the forest's edge. Almost immediately, he saw familiar amber eyes glowing in the shadows. The wolf sat calmly, watching him intently, its gaze purposeful. Adam smiled faintly, unsurprised this time by its presence. "Did you know she'd find what she was looking for today?" he murmured gently. The wolf tilted its head slightly, ears forward, its eyes unwavering. Then it stood gracefully, turning its head as though beckoning Adam to follow once again, before slipping silently back into the woods. Adam watched it vanish, suddenly understanding the wolf's message. Something waited for him deep within these mysterious forests. He knew soon enough he'd have to follow wherever the creature led, sensing that somehow his own lost path lay entwined with Caroline's determined search. The late afternoon sun dipped gently beneath the Appalachian horizon, casting Whisper Creek in golden hues as autumn leaves swirled lazily through the cool breeze. Adam Reynolds stood quietly outside his cabin, eyes drifting thoughtfully toward the forest edge. It had been several days since Caroline Brooks had discovered her brother Tommy's notebook in the abandoned shack, and though Adam hadn't seen her again, he found himself strangely invested in her quest. Hoping to clear his restless thoughts, Adam stepped toward the forest, his boots crunching softly on fallen leaves as he decided a short walk might ease his unease. The woods felt quieter today, peaceful yet tinged with mystery. Birds chirped quietly overhead, branches whispered softly around him, and the scent of moss and earth filled his senses, grounding him in the present moment. As Adam wandered deeper, his heart quickened when he noticed a familiar silhouette ahead, standing patiently among shadows. It was the wolf he'd encountered before, Willow, as he'd begun privately naming her. Her powerful form was sleek yet robust, thick gray and white, fur rippling slightly in the breeze. Willow's piercing amber eyes, calm and strangely reassuring, met his gaze as if she'd expected him all along. Adam approached cautiously, intrigued by her calm demeanor. Willow held steady, watching him intently until he was mere feet away. Without warning, she turned gracefully, padding quietly through the trees, pausing to glance back, silently urging Adam to follow. With curiosity outweighing caution, Adam trailed behind Willow, trusting her quiet leadership through dense underbrush, beneath towering oaks and maples. He knew instinctively that she was guiding him somewhere specific, a place of significance. After several winding paths, Adam felt the forest begin to thin slightly, revealing a small clearing bathed in dwindling sunlight. In its center stood an old, abandoned cabin, hidden beneath thick layers of ivy and moss, appearing as though it had sprouted directly from the earth itself. Adam hesitated at the edge of the clearing, heart pounding rapidly as he studied the forgotten structure. Its sagging roof, weathered wooden beams, and partially collapsed porch whispered of years untouched. Moss climbed steadily over walls, and wild vines tangled fiercely around broken shutters and cracked windows. Willow paused, sitting quietly near the doorway, her eyes gently encouraging him forward. Adam approached slowly, his hand brushing away thick vines to push open the creaking door, his breath catching in anticipation. Inside, a musty scent mingled with hints of old smoke and decay filled the air. Adam stepped cautiously over rotted floorboards, eyes adjusting to the dimness. Scattered objects revealed that someone had lived here recently. Rusty cooking pots, tattered blankets piled in a corner, a makeshift bed from pine branches and leaves. A partially burnt candle rested atop an overturned crate beside a cracked enamel cup. As Adam examined the crew belongings, his eyes fell on a small leather satchel lying half-hidden beneath a pile of dried leaves. Curiosity piqued. He gently opened it to reveal several faded photographs. One showed a smiling boy in his early teens with unruly blonde hair, bright eyes, and a mischievous grin. Adam recognized immediately it must be Tommy Brooks, younger and happier. Another photo, crumpled and slightly water-stained, depicted Caroline with Tommy, her arm draped protectively around him, both smiling genuinely. Clearly, Tommy had treasured these mementos during his lonely days of survival. Adam felt deep sympathy for Tommy's struggle and Caroline's relentless search. Carefully, he replaced the photos in the satchel, setting it back where he'd found it, sensing its importance should Tommy return. Leaving the cabin, Adam found Willow waiting patiently near the doorway, her eyes seeming to understand his silent reverence for what he'd uncovered. "How did you know?" Adam murmured softly, reaching instinctively toward Willow. She briefly touched her cool nose to his outstretched fingers, a rare gesture of trust, before stepping back into shadows, gracefully moving toward the trees once more. Reluctantly, Adam returned to his cabin as night approached swiftly, determined to share this discovery with Caroline first thing in the morning. Meanwhile, across town, Caroline Brooks sat alone at Whisper Creek's modest cafe, quietly nursing a steaming cup of tea as evening shadows lengthened. She stared pensively at Tommy's worn notebook, its pages memorized yet continually scrutinized for overlooked clues. Soft footsteps broke her concentration as Evelyn Porter approached her table. Evelyn was the cafe owner, a friendly woman in her mid-50s with bright eyes framed by short, curly silver hair and a perpetually welcoming smile. Known for her motherly warmth, Evelyn had become Caroline's steadfast supporter since Tommy's disappearance. "Evening, Caroline," Evelyn greeted gently, setting down a fresh slice of warm apple pie beside Caroline's cup. "You haven't eaten much lately. Thought this might tempt you." Caroline smiled faintly, touched by Evelyn's constant kindness. "Thank you, Evelyn. You've always looked out for me." Evelyn rested her hand briefly on Caroline's shoulder, her expression softening with compassion. "You're strong, Caroline, but nobody can carry such burdens alone forever. Remember, you have friends here who care deeply." Caroline met Evelyn's sincere gaze, grateful yet weary. "I know," she admitted quietly, "but until I bring Tommy home, it's difficult for me to rest." Evelyn nodded understandingly, gently patting Caroline's shoulder before stepping away to attend other customers. Caroline sat thoughtfully, absently stirring her tea, unaware Adam had quietly entered the cafe, holding the leather satchel. Approaching carefully, Adam cleared his throat softly to catch Caroline's attention. "Caroline," he said gently, drawing her gaze upward. Her eyes widened slightly with surprise, then curiosity, noticing the seriousness of his expression. "Adam, what is it?" Caroline asked, her heart quickening inexplicably. Adam placed the leather satchel carefully on the table before her, explaining softly, "The wolf led me deep into the forest today. I found an old cabin hidden away. Tommy stayed there recently. I think he's surviving better than anyone imagined." Caroline's eyes shone with immediate hope and gratitude. Hands trembling slightly, she opened the satchel, finding the precious photographs inside. Tears welled softly as she touched Tommy's smiling image. "Thank you," she whispered shakily. "This means more than I can say." Adam nodded respectfully, sensing he'd done something truly meaningful. "He hasn't forgotten you," he assured quietly. "I believe he's still out there." Caroline met his gaze, determination rekindled in her expression. "I won't stop until he's safely home." Adam understood fully, feeling connected to her unwavering resolve. Outside, darkness embraced Whisper Creek once more. Adam stepped onto the quiet street, sensing Willow nearby, hidden amongst shadows, silently observing. The wolf's presence felt reassuring now, guiding him gently forward along paths he'd never anticipated. Looking toward the forest, Adam knew this discovery was only the beginning. Willow had trusted him enough to lead him directly to Tommy's refuge, and perhaps, in turn, she would help him find his own healing. As Caroline sat silently in the cafe behind him, examining Tommy's photos, Adam turned his gaze upward, quietly thanking the wolf for leading him this far. He understood, at last, that Willow had chosen him for reasons deeper than mere chance. Their paths had intertwined, guiding both himself and Caroline toward answers long hidden in the heart of Whisper Creek's mysterious forest. Dawn's gentle fingers stretched over Whisper Creek, painting the mountains with strokes of pale pink and orange. Caroline Brooks stood at her kitchen window, sipping tea, her thoughts swirling with renewed hope after Adam's recent discovery of Tommy's photographs. She traced a finger softly over the photograph of Tommy and herself, her heart aching yet determined. Suddenly, her attention snapped back as the local radio crackled gently from her countertop. The voice belonged to the morning broadcaster, Maggie Davis, an energetic woman in her late 20s, known around town for her quick wit and unmistakably fiery red hair. Maggie's bubbly personality had earned her local affection, often sharing small-town news and events. Caroline listened intently as Maggie's cheerful voice announced, "Whisper Creek folks, we've had reports from Bill Harding, our town's longtime hunter, of strange human footprints spotted near Silver Creek Ridge. Bill claims they're fresh and oddly small. Could they belong to a mysterious stranger or a lost local? Either way, it seems Whisper Creek might have another mystery on its hands." Caroline's heart immediately quickened. Bill Harding was a respected figure in Whisper Creek, a tall, broad-shouldered man nearing his late 60s, weathered face lined deeply from countless hours spent outdoors, his short gray hair always hidden beneath a battered hunting cap. Known for his reticence, Bill lived alone at the town's edge, avoiding unnecessary conversations and preferring solitude in the forest. But Bill knew these woods better than anyone else alive, his sharp eyes missing little. If Bill had seen something unusual, Caroline trusted it to be true. Her hands trembled slightly as she hurriedly gathered her coat, determined to visit Bill immediately. Arriving at Bill's modest wooden home near the forest edge, Caroline knocked gently, her pulse racing with anticipation. After a moment, Bill appeared at the door, his piercing blue eyes peering sharply beneath bushy eyebrows. "Caroline," he greeted curtly, his voice rough yet oddly gentle. "What brings you here so early?" Caroline met Bill's gaze sincerely, speaking firmly yet respectfully. "Bill, I heard about the footprints you spotted near Silver Creek Ridge. Tommy might still be out there. Could you take me to them?" Bill shook his head immediately, his expression firm. "Caroline, those prints could belong to anyone, or no one. I've seen too many false hopes come and go in these mountains. It's best you leave it be. Caroline stepped closer, her voice softening yet insistent. Please, Bill. You know Tommy. You taught him hunting when he was little. If there's any chance he's out there. Bill's eyes softened briefly, nostalgia flickering across his weathered features, but his resolve returned quickly. I'm sorry, Caroline, he repeated gently. I won't lead you chasing ghosts. Caroline's determination flared sharply, though she respected Bill too much to press further. Thank you, Bill, she replied quietly, but I won't give up. Turning away, she strode purposefully toward the trailhead, guided now solely by instinct. At her heels trotted Buddy, Caroline's loyal companion, a sturdy, mid-sized shepherd mix she'd rescued 3 years ago. Buddy's coat was thick, golden brown, speckled with white around his muzzle, his intelligent dark eyes always keenly alert. The dog's presence comforted Caroline as they delved deeper into the forest, following narrow deer trails leading towards Silver Creek Ridge. Hours passed swiftly as Caroline moved silently through dense underbrush, guided by intuition rather than clear direction. Eventually, she reached the area Bill had described, pausing to inspect the ground closely. Among scattered leaves and mud, Caroline's heart leapt as she spotted faint but distinct footprints, small, worn sneakers imprints embedded clearly in the moist earth. Tommy, Caroline whispered breathlessly, hope surging. Buddy sniffed excitedly, ears perked, senses sharpening. Following the tracks further into denser foliage, Caroline felt a strange sensation of being watched, though she saw nothing unusual among shadows. Suddenly, Buddy paused sharply, growling softly at something unseen. Caroline knelt, calming Buddy with gentle strokes. Easy, boy, she murmured reassuringly, though her own pulse quickened. Slowly, a figure stepped hesitantly from behind thick bushes. A young girl Caroline had never seen before, perhaps 15, small and thin, with tangled dark hair framing frightened brown eyes. The girl wore a torn jacket and dirt-covered jeans, appearing exhausted yet wary. Caroline spoke gently, stepping forward slowly. Hey, it's okay. I won't hurt you. I'm Caroline, and this is Buddy. Are you lost? The girl hesitated briefly before nodding slightly, voice trembling. My name's Ellie. I've been hiding out here, ran away from a foster home in Knoxville. Been here almost a week, but someone else is in these woods too, a boy older. I've seen him watching me from afar, but he won't come close. Caroline's pulse surged. That might be Tommy, my brother. Can you show me where you've seen him? Ellie nodded timidly, stepping forward, trust cautiously blooming between them. I'll try, she whispered. Ellie guided Caroline further into dense underbrush, following narrow paths where branches scratched gently at their clothes. Buddy moved protectively beside them, eyes alert. After what felt like endless moments, Ellie halted, pointing toward a small cave entrance partially concealed beneath thick vines and mossy rocks. He's in there, Ellie whispered softly. He stays hidden mostly, but I've watched him come and go. Caroline thanked Ellie gently, instructing her quietly, stay here with Buddy. I'll check inside. Ellie nodded silently, comforted by Buddy's protective presence. Heart pounding furiously, Caroline carefully approached the cave entrance, kneeling to peer inside. The dim interior revealed scattered belongings, tattered blankets, empty cans, and a familiar t-shirt she recognized instantly as Tommy's favorite. Caroline's eyes filled instantly with tears of relief. Tommy, she called softly, her voice trembling slightly. Silence echoed back briefly. Then a hesitant rustling sound emerged from deeper within. Caroline's breath caught sharply as Tommy slowly appeared from shadowed depths, thin and disheveled yet alive, his blonde hair grown wild, eyes wary and startled at Caroline's presence. Caroline, he asked uncertainly, voice hoarse. Caroline rushed forward, embracing Tommy tightly, tears streaming freely down her cheeks. It's okay, she reassured gently. I'm here now. We'll figure everything out. Tommy's shoulders trembled slightly as tension melted gradually from his frame, relief and vulnerability flooding through him. Outside, Ellie watched cautiously, comforted by Buddy, who sat quietly beside her, tail wagging softly. A sense of quiet triumph filled the small clearing, hope blossoming gently amid lingering shadows. Back in Whisper Creek, Bill Harding watched thoughtfully from his porch, sensing something important had occurred deep within the familiar woods. Though he declined Caroline's plea earlier, relief warmed Bill's heart softly, understanding intuitively that Caroline had somehow found her answers anyway. Inside the cave, Caroline gently wiped Tommy's tears, smiling warmly through her own. "We're going home, Tommy," she promised softly, determination shining clearly in her gaze. Outside, sunlight filtered gently through tangled branches, illuminating their path forward as Caroline led Tommy carefully from darkness toward renewed hope. Buddy trotted happily beside them, Ellie quietly following behind, grateful to have found unexpected safety. Unseen, hidden among distant shadows, Willow watched quietly, her amber eyes glinting softly with satisfaction, sensing that the lost trail she'd carefully guided had finally converged, uniting fractured lives and bringing them gently home. Adam Reynolds awoke early, restlessness tugging at him even as dawn broke softly over Whisper Creek. His mind had replayed Caroline's determined face countless times since he'd handed her Tommy's photographs, her hope reignited. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something still lay hidden, unresolved in those silent, shadowed woods. Stepping outside into the crisp morning air, he found Willow already waiting for him, her amber eyes gleaming with a mysterious intent. Adam had learned to trust the enigmatic wolf, sensing her gentle guidance had never led him astray. "All right, Willow," he murmured quietly, approaching her slowly, his voice respectful. "Show me where we need to go." With a graceful turn, Willow led Adam into the woods once more. The forest today felt different, quieter, as if nature itself held its breath, awaiting what lay ahead. Willow guided him along unfamiliar paths, deeper into the heart of the wilderness, past thickets dense with undergrowth and beneath towering trees whose branches intertwined like fingers above. Eventually, they reached the same ivy-covered cabin where Adam had discovered Tommy's belongings earlier. Yet this time, Willow paused near the entrance, her eyes locked solemnly onto Adam's own, silently urging him to look deeper. Inside, Adam carefully stepped around scattered items, following Willow's quiet movements toward a dark hallway at the cabin's far end. The air grew colder, heavier, carrying a lingering scent of dampness and solitude. At the end of the hallway stood a small, locked door, hidden almost entirely by shadows and cobwebs, unnoticed previously. Heart beating faster, Adam examined the rusted lock closely. Without hesitation, he threw his shoulder forcefully against the aging wood, once, twice, until it splintered inward, revealing the dim interior beyond. Within the small room, huddled protectively in a corner among old blankets, sat Tommy Brooks, thin, pale, eyes wide with wary fear. Tommy had grown taller over the past year, his blonde hair now tangled and matted, clothes torn and ragged. His once bright eyes carried deep shadows of exhaustion and sadness. Yet beneath it all flickered a spark of resilience, survival, burning stubbornly within him. "Tommy," Adam spoke gently, slowly stepping closer, hands raised reassuringly. "My name's Adam. Caroline, your sister, she's been searching everywhere for you." Tommy hesitated, eyes darting cautiously, before nodding weakly, voice barely above a whisper. "I saw her once weeks ago, but I couldn't face her. Not after running away, causing all this pain. I've survived here alone, hunting small animals, staying hidden. I thought it was better if everyone just forgot me." Adam knelt carefully, meeting Tommy's eyes sincerely. "They never forgot you, Tommy. Caroline never stopped believing you'd come home. Let's get you out of here, all right?" Tommy hesitated briefly before nodding weakly, accepting Adam's steadying hand. Carefully, Adam helped Tommy to his feet, noting with concern how fragile and unsteady the younger man had become. As they stepped outside, Adam suddenly heard rapid footsteps approaching quickly through the underbrush. Instinctively protective, he shielded Tommy slightly until a familiar face emerged from the trees. Caroline Brooks, breathless, Buddy running beside her, and Ellie close behind. Caroline's eyes widened immediately in shock and joy as she saw Tommy clearly for the first time in nearly a year. "Tommy!" Caroline gasped, voice thick with emotion, tears filling her eyes instantly. She rushed forward, embracing her brother tightly, holding him close as if she feared he might vanish again. Tommy, overwhelmed yet grateful, hugged Caroline fiercely in return, his frail frame trembling slightly from relief and exhaustion. "Caroline, I'm sorry," Tommy whispered brokenly, guilt clouding his expression. "I didn't mean to cause this." Caroline shook her head gently, smiling warmly through her tears, gently touching Tommy's gaunt cheek. "None of that matters now," she reassured tenderly. "You're safe. That's all that matters." Nearby, Ellie watched quietly, her dark eyes softening with hope and wonder, recognizing the profound reunion occurring before her. Buddy sat protectively beside Ellie, tail wagging gently, sensing instinctively that the long, difficult search had finally ended. As Caroline and Tommy quietly shared their reunion, Adam stepped aside, giving them privacy, his eyes drifting gratefully toward Willow, who remained watchful from the forest's edge. The wolf's presence had guided him carefully, leading both Caroline and himself to this crucial moment, helping reunite the fractured family. Suddenly, rustling sounds broke Adam's quiet thoughts as Bill Harding stepped cautiously from behind nearby trees. His usually stoic face softened considerably, eyes shining gently beneath his battered hunting cap. Bill nodded respectfully toward Adam, understanding clearly the importance of what had transpired. Approaching quietly, Bill's eyes landed gently upon Tommy, relief evident in the elderly hunter's weathered features. "I'm glad you're all right, Tommy," Bill spoke softly, genuine emotion rare in his gruff voice. Tommy managed a faint smile, grateful for the familiar comfort of Bill's presence. "Thanks, Bill. I'm sorry for worrying everyone." Bill shook his head slowly, placing a comforting hand lightly upon Tommy's shoulder. "We all lose our way sometimes," he replied gently. "What matters is that we find our way back home." Caroline wiped tears softly from her cheeks, gratitude clear in her eyes as she glanced toward Bill, Adam, and Ellie. The unlikely group, united through struggles and hope, silently acknowledged the profound connections forged through their shared journey. Ellie stepped quietly beside Caroline, shy yet brave, her dark eyes hopeful yet uncertain. Caroline gently placed a reassuring hand on Ellie's shoulder, quietly promising the young girl she was no longer alone. "You're part of our story now, Ellie," Caroline assured softly. "We'll figure things out together." Ellie smiled timidly, relief blossoming gently within her guarded heart. As daylight faded gently toward evening, Adam quietly stepped forward again, his voice steady and reassuring. "We should get Tommy back to town, have Doc Mitchell take a look at him," he suggested gently, referring to Whisper Creek's kindly doctor, Jacob Mitchell, an elderly yet spry man in his early 70s known affectionately throughout town for his gentle bedside manner and meticulous care. Caroline nodded gratefully, carefully helping Tommy move slowly forward, Ellie and Buddy close behind. Adam lingered briefly, eyes turning toward Willow, silently acknowledging her quiet guidance. The wolf tilted her head gently, eyes warm with understanding, before gracefully turning and slipping silently back into deeper shadows. As the reunited group slowly walked back toward Whisper Creek beneath the fading sunlight, a quiet sense of fulfillment embraced them all. Fate had guided them gently, carefully intertwining their paths through challenges and hardship, leading ultimately toward healing and reunion. Behind them, Bill Harding remained quietly watching, satisfied yet contemplative beneath fading sunlight. As night gently claimed the forest once more, Whisper Creek settled quietly beneath a sky scattered gently with stars, each twinkling gently as if silently celebrating the lost souls now safely guided home. Gentle snowflakes drifted lazily from the lead-gray sky, cloaking Whisper Creek in a delicate blanket of white, softening edges and muting sounds. The town buzzed quietly with warmth and happiness, an atmosphere that had been rare in recent times. News of Tommy Brooks's return had quickly spread, lifting spirits and restoring hope. The townspeople smiled more easily, sharing quiet nods and joyful whispers in the cafes and shops. At the center of this newfound peace stood Adam Reynolds, quietly working alongside Caroline Brooks to rebuild their shared sense of normalcy. Adam had discovered something deeply comforting in assisting Tommy's recovery. Each morning, he'd rise early, preparing breakfast, ensuring Tommy ate regularly to regain his lost strength. Tommy was slowly returning to health, color returning to his pale cheeks, his thin frame gradually filling out under Adam's careful watch. Their daily routine provided Adam a sense of purpose he hadn't felt since returning from the war, easing the burdensome shadows in his own heart. Tommy, at first quiet and withdrawn, gradually opened up to Adam's gentle and steady companionship. His initial caution faded into trust, and soon they exchanged stories over meals. Adam sharing fragments of his service overseas, Tommy recounting moments from his wilderness ordeal. Their mutual vulnerability forged an unspoken bond, providing quiet solace to both. Caroline observed their interactions with quiet gratitude, her heart swelling gently each time she saw her brother smile again. Caroline's own emotional wounds slowly healed alongside Tommy's physical ones. The painful months spent searching alone in the forest had left scars she thought permanent. Yet each evening's quiet conversation with Adam beneath a softly glowing porch light soothed those lingering fears. Adam had become her confidant, sharing whispered stories beneath starlit skies, laughter softly breaking through layers of sadness. Their growing closeness brought subtle shifts in their interactions. Gentle smiles exchanged more frequently, lingering gazes holding warmth and understanding. Slowly but surely, Caroline's once cautious heart began opening fully to the quiet strength Adam consistently offered. Each evening, after Tommy retired to rest, Adam and Caroline found themselves drawn toward quiet moments together, seated side by side upon the wooden porch steps, sipping steaming mugs of tea beneath a canopy of stars. Nearby, Buddy lay contentedly beside them, his tail wagging gently each time laughter filled the quiet night air. Ellie, now settled comfortably into Caroline's home, often joined their evening talks, sharing fragments of her past, gradually trusting enough to reveal the harsh realities she'd faced. Ellie, previously shy and reserved, was blossoming into a warm, expressive young woman. At 15, Ellie's dark hair had been neatly trimmed. Her brown eyes now sparkled with confidence beneath gently arched eyebrows, and she smiled more freely. Caroline's nurturing influence had transformed Ellie's withdrawn caution into newfound strength. Her bond with Tommy grew sibling-like, each supporting the other's recovery. Their presence together created a warm family dynamic, something each had desperately lacked. The town of Whisper Creek had quickly embraced Ellie, warmly welcoming the young girl into their small community. Evelyn Porter, owner of the cafe, became especially protective of Ellie, encouraging her creativity by displaying Ellie's drawings and poems prominently inside the cafe's cozy walls. Ellie's talent emerged quickly, her artwork often depicting serene mountain scenes, quiet cabins nestled safely among towering pines. Evelyn proudly championed Ellie's blossoming gift, helping instill confidence the young girl once thought lost forever. Dr. Jacob Mitchell had closely monitored Tommy's steady recovery, visiting frequently to check on him. Jacob, a respected physician now 72 years old, moved gracefully despite age, his neatly trimmed gray beard framing kind, patient blue eyes that held decades of gentle wisdom. His compassionate care had greatly aided Tommy's physical rehabilitation, guiding him gradually toward renewed health and strength. On one particularly chilly afternoon, Jacob visited Caroline's cozy home, carefully checking Tommy's progress. As he quietly packed his medical bag afterward, Jacob smiled warmly toward Caroline and Adam. "Tommy's doing remarkably well," he reassured softly. "You've both given him excellent support, exactly what he needed most." Caroline squeezed Adam's hand gently in gratitude, feeling warmth spread through her chest. Adam smiled quietly, nodding respectfully toward Jacob. "We're grateful for everything you've done, document." Jacob chuckled softly, eyes twinkling. "Whisper Creek takes care of its own," he replied warmly. "Always has, always will." Beyond the warmth of Caroline's cozy home, Willow's silent presence remained quietly steadfast. Adam frequently glimpsed the mysterious wolf lingering at the forest's edge, quietly watching over them from shadows, her amber eyes holding gentle reassurance. Adam had grown accustomed to her quiet appearances, sensing Willow's subtle, protective nature had bound their lives tightly together, quietly guiding him toward healing and peace. On a particularly cold winter evening, Adam and Caroline walked quietly toward town beneath softly falling snow, Tommy and Ellie walking happily ahead with Buddy trotting excitedly beside them. Evelyn had invited them all to the cafe's annual community celebration, an event warmly anticipated each winter. Entering Evelyn's cafe, they were immediately embraced by warmth, laughter, and gentle holiday music drifting softly through the cozy space. Maggie Davis, the energetic radio broadcaster, cheerfully welcomed them from behind the festive dessert table, her fiery red hair neatly tied beneath a Santa hat, infectious enthusiasm spreading joyfully throughout the room. Bill Harding stood quietly near the cafe's back corner, a cup of steaming coffee clasped gently between his weathered hands. Seeing Tommy's brightened expression, Bill smiled quietly to himself, warmth gently filling his usually stoic eyes. The gruff hunter had softened considerably in recent weeks, quietly assisting Adam with cabin repairs, subtly supporting Tommy's recovery through quiet acts of kindness. As the evening progressed, laughter and shared memories filled the cafe, celebrating Tommy's return home and new bonds formed through adversity. Amid gentle conversations and warm embraces, Adam quietly stepped outside briefly for fresh air, pausing beneath softly falling snowflakes. Soon, Caroline quietly joined him, wrapping her arms warmly around herself against winter's chill. Standing silently together beneath gently drifting snow, Adam quietly reached for Caroline's hand, gently interlacing their fingers, warmth spreading quietly between them. Caroline looked upward softly, her green eyes reflecting gentle starlight, quietly acknowledging the significance of their shared journey. "Thank you, Adam," Caroline whispered gently, gratitude and affection filling her voice. "For everything. For finding Tommy, bringing Ellie into our lives, for helping me heal." Adam squeezed her hand gently, meeting her sincere gaze with quiet understanding. "You helped me too, Caroline," he confessed quietly. "After everything I faced overseas, returning home felt impossible until I met you." Caroline smiled softly, leaning gently against Adam's shoulder beneath softly falling snowflakes. Silently observing nearby, from shadows beneath towering pines, Willow sat calmly, amber eyes shining softly with quiet approval, sensing clearly that the lost soul she'd gently guided had finally found peace, happiness, and quiet belonging. As snow softly blanketed Whisper Creek in gentle tranquility, Adam Reynolds and Caroline Brooks quietly embraced their newfound happiness, healed from past wounds, strengthened through shared struggles and gentle companionship. Behind them, warm laughter drifted softly from Evelyn's cafe, carrying gently through softly falling snowflakes toward quiet mountains surrounding their beloved town. Whisper Creek, once shadowed by uncertainty, now glowed gently beneath quiet winter moonlight, filled softly with quiet hope, compassion, and gentle new beginnings. In life, we often wander through dark forests of uncertainty, feeling lost and alone. But like Adam and Caroline discovered, even the deepest shadows can be brightened by trust, perseverance, and compassion. Remember, Every person you meet carries their own hidden struggles, and your kindness could be the gentle guidance they desperately need. If this story touched your heart, please share it with others, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to join our journey toward hope. May God bless and guide you all, offering strength in every challenge you face. If you believe in miracles and second chances, please comment Amen below.